Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundance Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. We're going to talk about elections today. Let's get started early. It's coming up in just a few months. Folks are already throwing their name in the hat for the presidential election. I'm even seeing a few local things kind of stir around here in my area. So let's talk about elections and how they work. We're going to begin with understanding local elections, and here are the basics. Okay, I found this really good website, honestlymodern.com. That's honestlymodern.com. And so a number of things we can talk about, but let's talk about local elections. And a lot of folks get out there and they say, well, I'm not going to miss the local. I'm going to wait until the big election comes and then I'll vote then. You need to be voting on all of them, because let me tell you something that happens. And this is with Democrats and Republicans, all of them. You know, you can actually vote in the first election that comes up, and which is the primary election, and not vote your opinion at all. I mean, just to try to disrupt the other side. A lot of folks do that. So that's why a lot of folks on the Republican side, a lot of choices were done through Democrats who crossed over and who voted in the primary election. And then when the general election came, then the people that we were really wanting to vote for, and I'm going to say the senator's race, for example, the folks really wanted to vote for, it was already decided from the Democrats coming across and deciding who they wanted us to have to run against. So you got to get out. You got to vote every single election that comes, okay? And that's beginning at the bottom. It's beginning with your locals, okay? So understanding local elections, here are the basics. Now, when researching local election candidates, it's essential to understand the basics of local elections before getting into the details of each candidate's platforms and perspectives. In this section, let's talk about that, okay? So we're going to talk about the election cycle, districts, state, and local ballots. Now, election cycles. The election cycle refers to the schedule of when different types of elections occur, including general, primary, runoff, and special elections. Understanding the cycle is necessary for knowing when you need to research and support local candidates. So election cycles can vary by state, and it's also essential to verify dates specific to your location. So I'm talking to everybody right now, all 50 states. Now, local election districts. So election districts are geographical areas in which an elected official represents the constituents living there. Local elections primarily involve municipal districts. It can be like your city councils or your school boards, and that's important too, by the way. Know who's on the school board. And county districts. A lot of folks have said, why are you so concerned about things like that? Why are you so concerned with the school board? You don't have kids in school. You don't even have any grandkids. Why are you so interested in that? Because these folks, you should be interested. You got to think about neighbors who could be moving in. You got to think about those things. So it's really important that the kids are being educated in the right way. Okay, that's my 10 cents worth. Every election is important. Okay, it's vital to know which district you live in, the candidates running within your district. Now, to find your district, here are some tools that you can follow. Okay, first of all, visit your state's election board website. Okay, and it's easy to do. Just type in your state and then put election. You'll find it. Utilize district finder tools that are provided. Confirm your district boundaries based on your residential address. And as a matter of fact, sometimes they only ask for your zip code. In other cases, they'll ask for, if you're in a bigger town, they'll ask for your address, because sometimes towns are actually divided. Okay, state and local ballots. State and local ballots can include both candidate races and ballot measures. Now, state ballots focus on statewide offices such as the governor, attorney general, state legislative races. Local ballots include races for things like the county and municipal public office positions, school board directors, important, and local ballot initiatives and measures. Now, when Researching the local election candidates is crucial to examine both the state and local ballots, as state-level decisions can impact local policies and vice versa. To access your state and local ballots, you need to follow these steps. Okay, number one, visit your state's local board or registrar a voter's website. Here you can find things like the voter registration, applications, and related information, as well as answers to many questions about how to vote where you live. Okay, search for sample ballots. I do that as soon as as soon as everybody's thrown their name in the hat, I look for that sample ballot. Or a voter information guide. Some states do that. Now, some of these are nonpartisan while others are partisan. I'll have to tell you, though, I want to find out whether somebody's Democrat or Republican. I don't care if they're dog catcher, because of the things that I see, the things, the beliefs that I have that can affect the area I'm living in. I want to know those things. But I got to tell you, I'm not a card-toting Republican either. It's come down to this with me. This is my personal thing right here. Dad was a Democrat, Mother was a Republican. And I saw from an early age that they would choose the D or the R. I don't do that. If it's a Democrat, I'm probably not going to vote for him just because of my belief system and what I think is right and what I think is wrong. I filter out Republicans because I'm going to tell you that sometimes I think they're all in it together. I'm just telling you research. In long story, short story, research. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Now, some of these are nonpartisan. We mentioned that. Some states, during a primary election season, you can only vote for political party candidates from the party in which you're registered. It's not that way in every state. Thus, Democrats and Republicans will have different ballots. Now, independents and non-registered voters, which is kind of where I'm leaning right there, the independents, cannot participate in a primary election. It's worth noting that you can register with a certain party for the primary election season and then change your registration for the general election if that's important to you. Refer to the ballot specific to your district and your precinct. You'll know that. Ballots will also be different for each voting district, region, or jurisdiction, so you should be able to find a sample ballot based on your address to ensure you're reviewing and researching the right state slate of candidates. Now, let me mention this. Because of the way I was traveling on my previous job, it was easier for me to have a post office box in Fife, Alabama. Well, I actually have the studio now out of my home. It was handier for me. So I no longer use the P.O. box. Now, I was getting information for P.O. box. So every year it was kind of a hassle to make sure that I was in where I actually live in Geraldine, Alabama. I don't have to worry about that now, but just be really careful if you have a P.O. box. Make sure the information being sent to you, being mailed to you, is in the area where you're going to vote, because it really depends on where you live. Now, most governing happens at the state and local levels. Now, this author says of the honestlymodern.com, a few years ago, I paid next to no attention to local elections. Now, when I voted, I chose candidates along party lines for lack of better information, or just stopped voting for local races altogether because I didn't know who to pick. I've come to learn, however, that this habit is woefully misdirected. I totally agree with this author. Although many state and local elections draw few votes, most actual governing happens at the state and local levels, and these elections are often decided just by a handful of votes. So every vote matters. That makes state and especially local elections easier to influence with fewer resources relative to federal elections. I know someone in my area a few years ago, this is before we moved back from Charlotte, North Carolina, and she was running for, it was a local election. I forgot what she said she was running for. And not many people showed up because it was a local election, small town. And so she lost the election by 3 votes. She found out her 3 kids didn't vote. Had they voted, she would have won the election. Well, I bet Thanksgiving was really interesting in her house that year. Christmas. So that's why we know every vote counts, okay? Had her kids voted, she would have won. Okay, now here's a list of it's very extensive, but let's go over this list, okay? These are a few examples of significant legislation, judicial action, and governing at state and local levels that have a major impact on our everyday lives. I'm going to go through this in just a couple of these. We're going to go into a commercial break. So day-to-day lifestyle circumstances, all the boring stuff about government like sewer, waste management, road maintenance, parks, recreation that deeply impact each of us every day are all local, even when money comes from federal legislation. Allocating or the allocation of the money to specific projects are often left up to state and local officials. That's why it's important to vote local. Book bans, many of these are led by elected school boards, local library boards, or county councils. So book bans are incredibly anti-democratic. A functioning democracy flourishes with informed voters who are critical thinkers. We not only learn how to do this with free access to information from multiple viewpoints, so book bans silence authors, hide the truth, and marginalize specific groups of people. Most of the people ultimately making decisions about book bans are hyper-local elected officials. Now, voting rights and infringements and gerrymandering. Despite federal laws protecting certain voting rights, are being challenged at state and local levels, sometimes to a great degree. So local and state officials in some places are making it much more difficult for people to vote in local and federal elections. Most troubling is they're using corrupt gerrymandering to secure supermajorities in state legislature chambers, despite much more balanced popular voting outcomes. Abortion matters. Just about every new item of legislation and challenge to abortion rights or protection has started at the state level. Who we put in state legislatures and judicial positions matters significantly on this topic, or on a topic exactly like this. Okay, let's go on ahead and go into a commercial break, and we're going to be right back. Your vote does matter, okay? I can't say this enough. A lot of emphasis on this. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant,
with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdy.lawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Okay, we're back. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I am your host of The Edge on IAC Radio. We're your source for news and entertainment. We are also found on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Check out the podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. We're talking about elections. A lot of folks say, I'm not going to worry with the local stuff. But what I've just told you about local, you need to go back and listen to this again. It does matter. Local elections do definitely matter. Anything to do with your school system, most of it's local stuff. It begins there. So make sure you get the right folks in, because if not, you're going to lose your cause. Okay, now let's talk about 10 ways to research election candidates to be an informed voter. This is extremely important. Now, with all of this in mind, it's important to do a bit of research on local political candidates so you know what you're choosing. Not just because they're nice to you, not just because they smile at you and they wave at you at the grocery store, and because they kiss your baby. There are other factors involved in choosing the right person. Okay, so particularly we have more extreme and activist candidates who often don't represent the beliefs of many in our party or in their party. We owe it to our communities, our children, and our democracy to be informed voters. I'm very passionate about this, and you're going to see I'm more serious in this one. Now, with each election, make a plan to vote or consider using some of the ways to research your election candidates to be sure you understand who you're electing to government offices before you make these important decisions. Now, there are a few ways to research political candidates and become informed voters in the next election. Now, this is for everybody, okay? Not just the state of Alabama. This is for all 50 states, okay? You will start with a big picture. Before diving into the details, get a lay of the land for who will be on your ballot. Your local Board of Elections or voter registration website is a great place to start. All you have to do, go to google.com or whatever search engine you use, type in your state election and then whatever year it's going to be. If it were, say, for 2024, you would go ahead and put your state election 2024. So make sure you understand that. Otherwise, you're going to pull up everything, from the past 100 years. It should be nonpartisan. They also have a lot of information about who is registered to run in each jurisdiction for each position and how to make sure you are eligible to vote. Sites like vote.org offer nonpartisan information about registration, polling locations, and more. Spend some time learning about the candidates from which you can choose in your local elections, from municipal leaders to national politicians. Vote as an informed citizen and cast your ballot with confidence. And I'm going to tell you, I really like Ballotpedia too. It's a real good one right there. And in that case, all you have to do is type in your zip code. Some cases you got to put the street address. It depends if we're just in a little small town right here, so less than 1,000 people. So we just type in the zip code and it tells us what to do. Now, review a sample ballot. Partisan sites like Ballot Media and Vote 411 offer sample ballots based on where you live, so you can see the ballot ahead of time. That gives you plenty of time to research these folks, know what to expect, and do research on various candidates before you're voting. Now, if you're using a mail-in ballot, you can see your actual ballot before doing research, which is why I like some folks like mail-in voting. I don't like mail-in voting. I like the whole idea of election day. Again, I'm putting Donna Fiesel's talk into this. It's almost like going to church on Sundays. It's like you're going to have one voting day. The entire part of my life that I've been voting, that's been kind of an important day in my life. I only need to know that one day. I make arrangements for everything. Now, if I get sick and I'm in the hospital, I can't help it. But there are other ways you can get around that. If you're military, mail-in voting and all that kind of stuff is important. But I'm talking about the regular chewing gum person of the United States that can go on voting day. That should not be an issue. You just know that that's it, or you don't get to vote. Okay, you can also find partisan sample ballots from your local Democrat or Republican organizations. They'll always have them out there for you if you would like to know who they recommended that you vote for. But be cautious here too, particularly with the extreme candidates. Some parties select these days. They can be one source of valuable information, but it's helpful to collaborate with their recommendations with other sources of information to ensure they represent your personal values and your principles. Okay? Principles over party always is what I always say. Review candidate campaign websites, profiles, and Facebook pages. It's one neat thing about Facebook. You can pretty much, take a look at the pictures, and don't listen to sound bites. Please don't do that, because with technology the way it is, I can get anything and make anything sound any way I wanted it to sound. So don't do that. Okay, now the candidate's campaign website is a good way to get a basic understanding of their position on many topics. The website may be biased because it's built by their team for their own advancement, but it's a good starting point to learn about their background and their basic tenets of their platform. Don't forget, you can compare website and profile information for competing candidates. Competitor websites can help you compare positions between two people running for the same position and then with the same party. Help you identify what topics might be missing and which topics are most important for each candidate. Okay, local races. Major candidates for larger races will almost always have websites, but that may not always be the case for smaller elections. So in our local elections, I've seen a couple of candidates for positions like school board directors have websites. Most, however, set up a Facebook page. Everybody uses social media for their campaigns, so consider searching these for relevant information as well. For local candidates, a simple Google search will also glean relevant results, because they don't have mainstream media press coverage like large elections, unless they're on my show, by the way. And the top results might offer insight into their positions and their affiliations. Red flag. I'm giving you one right here. Red flag. Be aware of any major issues that are absent from the candidate's website. Every candidate from any party should be able to disclose their position on all significant issues. If they can't, that's a serious call for suspicion, okay? Or if you are, and by the way, when you're out there and you're questioning candidates, do it in a civil manner. You don't have to be yelling and screaming and carrying on and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm talking about both sides here. I know we all get passionate, but doing it in a nice, civil way is good. I will argue if I have to, but I prefer not to. For example, many Republicans in recent elections are removing their position on abortion from their sites. Why would you do that? They know a lot of people within their likely voter base don't agree on this topic. They choose not to disclose their opinion on this significant issue for fear of deterring voters. I'm not going to vote for that person. Even if they think you should not be, if they're totally against abortion and they don't have enough guts to put it on their website, I'm not going to vote for them. It should be a cause for concern if a candidate can't or is not willing to disclose their stance on something, especially the larger issues of the current time. This is essentially tricking someone into voting for them. I don't like that. I don't like the tricky thing. By the omission of information that the candidate knows is relevant to the voter. Not only is this cause for concern about the topical matter, but it's a red flag about their character and their integrity. Okay, let's watch candidate debates. Larger races sometimes have debates between candidates. Some debates are frustrating because they seem more focused on creating snippets for social media than actually discussing topics. But debates between candidates could be one way to gather data and information about candidates in your area. This will probably be less helpful in state or local elections. Okay, read articles from center-rated news sources. Despite the growing lack of trust in mainstream media, there are many center-rated media sources and journalists that work hard to provide truthful and generally neutral information. I interview everybody, and I've caught some flack about that from some of my Republican friends. They want to know why I would interview a Democrat. I say, because I interview everybody. I want you to know there might be a Democrat that's better than some crazy Republican that's out there. You never know. You got to check their stance on everything. So now, do I do it in a confrontational way? No, I don't. No, I'm very fair to everybody. Some of my Democrat friends are glad to come on the show. They really are, because they know I'm going to be fair. Okay? If I don't agree with something they say, I'm not going to make a face. I'm not going to say something stupid. So I'm fair to everybody, because I want you to think for yourself. We're not seeing that a lot in the media anymore. It's important. I want to know that when I'm finished with a show and I have a candidate on my show, I want to know that you are informed before the end of the show. Okay, I want to know those things. It's really important, because we've got to learn how to think for ourselves, and not just what some joker tells you, or just because you like somebody, they smiled at you in the grocery store, they waved at you, Heidi, and they kiss your baby or your grandbaby. That's not a reason to vote for anybody. It's more important now than ever that you look at their platform and you pick the one that's best related to you. I know sometimes you're picking the less of two evils. I totally get that. I get it. But that's not how you vote. You've got to do research. Not just because your cousin Joe said, yeah, you need to vote for that person. You need to really check these folks out and ask questions when they're out there, okay? I'm talking starting at local or anywhere you go in a nice manner. You need to know what they're about. Thank you so much for watching The Edge. My name is Donna, and I am your host. So glad to be with you today. I'm very passionate about voting, and I hope you are too. If you have any questions, anything you would like me to do a little bit of research on for you, I'll be glad to. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you. You can send a message to donna@donnasedge.com. That's donna@donnasedge.com, and I'll do my best to find the answer for you. Again, thank you so much for watching.